listening to America First Radio.
And we're gonna win, win, win. And we're gonna make America great again.
Here is your host, Paul Adams.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, patriots, this may very well be the last podcast before the election. That is, if the globalists spark world war and Russia launches an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, to shut down our electronics. I'm not fear-mongering, okay? I'm trying to cover all the bases in case something happens. Worst case scenario. I'm trying to prepare spiritually, temporally. This is what a watchman on the tower does. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to wake up America, to make you realize that we're living in perilous times. This election is for all the marbles, okay? There's trillions and trillions of dollars on the line here for the globalists. If Trump gets in, the work they have done for the last 50 years will be for naught. So trust me when I tell you, you gotta be prepared. Now, the best case scenario, which I pray for nonstop, is for Mr. Trump to win the election. And I want to thank Alex Jones here and InfoWars for the following little video clip, which I'm about to share with you, because it really provides the best summary of what is at stake here.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation. And this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever's necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented. And the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefits of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Now, in addition to this, Mr. Trump gave us his New Deal for the middle class black America. Number 1, safe communities. 2, great education. And 3, high-paying jobs. His word is his bond. You can take that to the bank. By the way, if anybody knows of this homeless woman on Hollywood Boulevard who was protecting his star and who got beat up, Mr. Trump wants to reach out to her. His lawyers are looking for her. Yeah, these thugs, these libtards, start beating up on this homeless woman, believe it or not. So, we have some good news. The good news is that the FBI is going to reopen the investigation into Hillary's emails. There's a letter signed by James Comey to Congress. He addresses it to both Democrats and Republicans. Okay, it's a bipartisan reach. And this letter is now making the rounds on Twitter. I think what Comey is trying to do is he's trying to cover his butt here in case Mr. Trump gets into office. He knows that if he gets into office, Mr. Comey will be hauled in on a red carpet, and he's done. If they are going to open up this again, he should recuse himself this time around. You got to remember, Comey is a director of the HSBC Bank, and this bank has been funding the Clinton Foundation. Okay, that is at best a conflict of interest. Anyway, what does this really mean for Hillary? Well, even if she's elected, which is now a non-starter with a fair election, let's emphasize the big if this election will not be stolen, and if it will be fair, Hillary will not be elected. It means she will be dogged by one investigation after another, and very likely will be impeached and jailed and replaced by Tim Kaine if she is elected. The other good news is that on November 1st or thereabouts, the hackers have promised to release all 33,000 emails which Hillary deleted. Okay, and even if they don't do that, we now know that these 33,000 emails have now been found and will be subpoenaed by the FBI. But we would rather have the emails before the election than after the election. The big question now is, even if the FBI finds reasons to refer this case to the Department of Justice, will Loretta Lynch give Hillary a pass for the second time, or will she press for prosecution, for indictment? Will Bill Clinton have another meeting in her plane? Has Bill Clinton, in essence, told Lynch, hey, look, no matter what happens, Hillary and I are not going to jail, you understand? Or else. So are his words in that first meeting in her plane still ringing in her ears? Is it possible that what we're going to see now is more kabuki theater? And another question. If there was enough evidence in the first investigation to indict Hillary, or anybody else for that matter, indict them 10 times over, what difference does it make at this point if we have new evidence brought forth? Are they just simply trying to buy time here? Are the globalists going to ram their agenda down our throat no matter what happens? And will they make the best of this crisis and turn it into a ritual of sorts where they shove it in our face? They inform the sheep that they have been brought to the altar to be slaughtered. They botch up another investigation and then take the sheep's silence to mean consent. And by the sheep, I'm not talking about the media, I'm talking about the American people. So that these demons can somehow not be subjected to karma, because there's a cause and effect relationship here. So my next question is, why is George Soros not arrested for inciting violence, for publicly proclaiming that his lifetime's culminating achievement will be to destroy America? Why is this guy still running around free? This is the biggest mystery of all. Why is this gangster who manipulates elections worldwide still a free man? Why are we giving safe harbor to this guy? I'd like to know what emails are hiding in some server between Soros and the Department of Justice or the FBI. So Sean Hannity now and Lou Dobbs, they're on top of it. They're talking about the WikiLeaks. They're putting it all out in the open. But it's like the mythical Medusa. The only way to keep the snakes from growing back into our turf is by cutting off the head. And in this case, the head is Soros. Now, there may be other heads. In fact, I believe there's multiple heads. And believe it or not, there are even tails that are wagging America like a dog. For some organizations, for some people, America, excuse my French, is their bitch. So that must come to an end also if we're going to be a sovereign nation. They're stalked by hackers now that they will release videos which will make voter fraud look like a jaywalking ticket. And they will also totally destroy the DNC. So stand by. In other good news, some of the mainstream media now realize that if they are to remain relevant and not go the way of the dinosaur, they must report the truth. And so WikiLeaks has made it to page 1 at the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and at the top of CBS, NBC newscasts. The Clinton cesspool, is leaking so bad that there's no lid that can conceal the stench. And that swamp has got to be drained. Washington Post just came out with 2 articles about Hillary. Okay, one headline is "The Fix: Hillary Clinton's first reaction to the FBI's email probe. Don't talk to the media." Another headline by WAPO: Chavez asks Deputy FBI Director for documents about wife's political ties to Clinton. By the way, speaking of the slimy Democrats, that last bitch who came out of the woodwork accusing Trump of sexually assaulting her is a writer for the viciously anti-Trump rag, the Huffington Post. So any sympathy anyone had for this leech is now turning to vitriolic animus. Whores like her are emblematic of the vile, corrupt cancer that is the Democratic Party. Now, I designed a meme, and you can see all my memes online by going to @zip90210.club. That's @zip90210.club. But I designed a meme with Hillary in a bathing suit swimming underwater with a bunch of giant piranhas, their mouths wide open, razor-sharp teeth, giving chase. And she blurts, "The mainstream media is acting strangely." The mainstream media, all of a sudden, are dissing Hillary. But if she wins, despite the fact that the mainstream media is after her, it will only prove that they are objective, number one, and that the fix is in. Like I said, maybe Soros wants to make complete fools out of the American people. He will be saying, see, even with all that dirt hanging over Hillary's head, even with all your protests over a rigged election, even with all the popular support that you gave Trump, even with appealing to the Supreme Court for a stolen election, even with the mainstream media dissing her, I, George Soros, am in control. So he would be really shoving it in our face. At which point, I think most Americans would feel compelled to take back their country by force. Except they would not be going after Democrats or Republicans. They would be going after globalists like George Soros. Here are some more examples of the mainstream media coming out against her. The ABC story about a Clinton aide raising millions for Bill Clinton, Inc., came out after Bill Clinton left the presidency. That is now out in the open. Here's another huge email leak, which made it to Sean Hannity, and it's all over the place. The leak says, it's an email. It says, do we actually know who told Hillary she could use a private email? And has that person been drawn and quartered? Like, whole thing is effing insane. By the way, the word fuck, okay, F-U-C-K, has its roots in Old English law, okay? When someone was committing adultery and was caught, they were found under carnal knowledge, okay? And this is how we got the abbreviation F-U-C-K, found under carnal knowledge. That's a little bit of trivia here. I never like to use the word. I think that either way, if Hillary wins or if Hillary loses, the demons will unleash World War III. They're going to throw the chessboard out the window, okay? They may do it in conjunction with the unplugging of Deutsche Bank, which is on the brink of bankruptcy, and will make Lehman Brothers look like the closing of a corner store. I'm looking at the blind spots here. I'm trying to find them all, because what is it that we're missing with this criminal cabal behind the curtains? What is it that we're not getting? What are they hiding? Because they're not going to go away quietly, folks. There's just too much at stake here. Too much at stake. There are trillions of dollars at play here. And so they must be constantly scheming. I don't know what the Vatican is doing. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what their networks are. I don't know what the Zionists are planning. All I know is that they all want to have a piece of the pie. They all want a piece of the fatted calf, which is America. They all want to milk it. They all want to carve it up. It's all about money. It's all about profits. It's all about control. So, if Hillary wins, this could be the biggest heist in modern history. The steal of the 2016 election. They could be playing us like they played us back in 2012 when Ron Paul was packing the stadiums and yet Romney won the nomination. They could be playing us like they played Bernie's supporters. You know, he was packing the stadiums, right? So keep your eyes wide open. In Syria, Russia is accusing now the United States coalition of war crimes. And folks, we have got to be the dumbest nation when it comes to voting. Election cycle after election cycle, we do it to ourselves like dumb sheep. We just follow the orders, the procedures, when we, in fact, are the employers of our government and should be demanding hacker-proof, fair elections. I want you to listen to this clip. You'll recognize the voices here.
I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place.
I come from Chicago, so I want to be honest. It's not as if it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have too. You know, whenever people are in power, they have this tendency to try to, tilt things in their direction.
Every expert, regardless of political party, regardless of ideology, conservative or liberal, who has ever examined these issues in a serious way will tell you that instances of significant voter fraud are not to be found.
That's why we've got to have I believe, a voting rights division in the Justice Department that is nonpartisan and that is serious about, investigating cases of vote fraud, is serious about making sure that people aren't being discouraged to vote. That's why the voting rights legislation that was passed a couple of years ago to help county clerks make sure that the machines were in place that were needed are important. That's why we need paper trails on these new electronic machines so that you actually have something that you can hang on to after you've punched that letter, make sure that it hasn't been hacked into. I mean, those are all part and process of making sure that our democracy works for everybody.
It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts.
We had all kinds of problems in some of our past elections, as you might remember. In 2000, our presidential election came down to one state where the brother of the man running for president was the governor of the state. So
that is both irresponsible and, by the way, doesn't really show the kind of leadership and toughness that you'd want out of a president.
And this is very near and dear to my heart because when I was a lawyer, I practiced voting rights law and filed a lot of lawsuits. And so I've been working on this for a long time. I think the more people participate, the more they are paying attention, ultimately, the better off everybody is. Okay?
So I'm telling you, this could be the final takedown of America, especially if the final voting count takes place in Spain. If all the votes are tallied offshore, as it's been reported, all bets are off. Now, all the early voting shows Trump's ahead in swing states. I would really like to see emails of Soros coordinating with Comey or Lynch or members of Congress. That would give new meaning to the word transparency here. But again, we have done it to ourselves, because all we really need to fix this problem is a little bit of ingenuity, some political will at the grassroots. Because if you can log on to your online bank account and transfer funds or pay bills, you should be able to securely vote with an online citizen account. It would be your hacker-proof account, would alleviate voter fraud and an election steal. You would get one vote. You couldn't vote multiple times per election cycle. You would need to verify yourself with an ID online. The results would be stored and calculated in the NSA. Again, next we have now to worry about the Electoral College, another minefield. Why can't the popular vote be enough, like in other countries? But I don't know. We like to complicate things. It's time to reform our election system. We are using a horse and buggy election system when we should be using space-age technology. I'm not trying to discourage you from going out to vote. If anything, you need to vote in this election more than ever, because the whole world depends on this vote, okay? Your lives, your sons' lives, your daughters' lives, your posterity depends on this vote, because we want to overwhelmingly prove that we, the American people, wanted Trump in. And that there was a steal, if there is a steal, that there was a steal despite a popular landslide for Trump. Folks, what I think Soros is aiming for is an American Spring. He's really trying to get us to dissolve the republic internally, with pitchforks and torches. If he can't do it himself, he will get us to do it. So again, there's just too much at stake here. It's not like they would let a Mitt Romney or a Jeb Bush win. If Trump gets in, there's no way they're going to control him. And he's going to drain and disinfect the swamp. So go and vote. In case we have to take the results of this election right up to the Supreme Court, we need to have an overwhelming turnout at the polls. We need to produce a preponderance of evidence that the American people voted for Trump, that the election was stolen by fraud and a rigged system. So get out there and vote on November 8th. Do it now if you can vote in your state. It's time for we the people to take back our country, one way or another. With Mr. Trump at the helm or without him, we the people must take back our country. Under Amendments 9 and 10, we have rights and powers reserved to us, the people. We are the ultimate appellate authority. It's not the Supreme Court, but we the people. Never ever forget that. We the people wrote the Constitution. It was written at our behest, and we the people can amend it. This is our country, given to us by God, and by God we are going to take it back from the monsters who have controlled it. You need to do it for yourself, for your children, your grandchildren, for the veterans and for the unborn who are slaughtered in abortions every year. Do it for Ambassador Chris Stevens, for Tyrone Woods, Glenn Doherty, Sean Smith, who died in Benghazi. Do it for all the men and women who have fought and died in wars to keep America free. Do it for the founding fathers who risked life and limb, their good name and fortunes, to set off this experiment we call the United States of America, one nation under God. Do it for God, who gives you breath and wisdom. Now, early results in Texas and Florida show Trump winning by landslide, according to exit polls. A lot of people who have never voted before are coming out to vote. And even with the vote switching and the fraud, this is becoming a massive landslide victory for Donald Trump. But don't get too comfortable, folks. Don't get complacent here. Don't think it's all over. You need to get out there and vote like your life and the peace of the planet depended on it. Do you understand? We need to make our voices heard. We need to make this a monumental, non-debatable, uncontested, overwhelming victory for Donald Trump. Now, you need to understand one thing. Hillary is not Bernie Sanders, okay? If Bernie was running, he would not be pulling all the stops and using every dirty trick in the book to win the election. You see, when Hillary Clinton loses this election, she is facing jail time. Loretta Lynch may be facing jail time. The whole corrupt apparatus will come crumbling down. There are a lot of people who are not sleeping very well right now, okay? Because here's what Hillary is facing. She can be charged with war crimes, crimes against humanity, murder, treason, theft, voter fraud, embezzlement, false flags, bribery, blackmail, coercion, money laundering, perjury, aiding and abetting and enabling a lifelong rapist, espionage. Think of this vote cycle as the War of Independence Part 2. You are not fighting with muskets and bayonets, but you are fighting with the truth and with your vote, and you are going to have the best commander-in-chief since George Washington when you vote for Donald J. Trump. This election is not over. You need to get out there and vote. Don't let the media tell you the race is over. As a matter of patriotic duty, get out there in those long lines, wait your turn, cast your vote. It's the most important election of your lifetime. Now, if you have problems at the polls, you can email pictures, any irregularities outside or inside the polling station. You can email them to vote@infowars.com or to stopthesteal@gmail.com. And you can contact Trump Ballot Security at 1-855-245-4634. And isn't it interesting that the Democrats are planning to move to Canada if Trump wins? You know, it's never Mexico. I wonder why that is. That's all for today, folks. God bless America. God bless Mr. Trump.